Hello, uh, good evening, people who may be watching this video, even as I speak, even though I'm not the one putting it on live news feed. Anyway, um, what I was going to discuss was I recently had some tests done to check my testosterone levels because those are important, and for a number of years I took psychiatric medication, and I'm not entirely certain if that screws around with that or not. I'm pretty sure it does. It probably screws around with everything. I mean, I had heard some stories, and they seem to make sense from someone else's perspective. As far as myself goes, I don't think there's anything wrong with my testosterone levels. I figured I'd go through the motions and have it checked out. Um, yeah, I am feeling a lot more physically capable than I had done for years uh, because of cessation of Clopixel and Invega. As I had mentioned, with the olanzapine, I'm taking a bare bones minimum, and it's for the physical conditions brought on by those previous medications, and that is the only reason I am taking it. And I wouldn't be taking it if that weren't physically necessary for my body. I would not be taking any psychiatric medication at all, and I'm not legally obligated to do so. So I have no problem saying this, even on the internet when I'm, vindictive, vicious eyes staring at me, probably not liking the notion of a patient cured is a patient lost, to put it bluntly. Um, Anyway, yeah, so I went and had my testosterone checked out did it fast, yada, yada, yada. And I figured, well, I don't see my doctor for a while. Why don't I try this online business? And it is a business, I might add. I thought about it, and I figured it wouldn't be any harm to take a look. And you know what? I went through the process of getting, all signed up, registered, whatever you want to call it, and the terms of use. I read them, and I got the gist of it. I mean, they say so many things in so many words, and it's like, where's the abridged version? You only said about four or five things that you could have said much shorter, and it wasn't a difficult read, but it was longer than it had to be. It's they want to accentuate the simplicity so that stupid people feel like, oh, I've accomplished something today, but I read this, I've increased my intellect. No, you haven't. This is a stupid version that's just been expanded. Anyway, um, first thing, there were a few things I noticed, but the most prominent thing that I noticed was third party. And I knew that already, and that is what it is. My eHealth is a third party, and they want your information. And because you don't know what they do with it, they're not going to tell you. That doesn't make it all right. It doesn't make it all right that it's a government institution that gives them this information. I mean, you may think in your head, well, what difference does it make? There's a pack of assholes over here that knows my genetic details. What difference if a different pack of assholes I'm never going to meet knows? Well, it's a little more complicated than that because as an observer from the outside looking in, and a lot of people that work for that industry too are also observers from the outside looking in as well. That's how people maintain control, governments maintain control and things like that. Left hand never knows what the right hand's doing, but they probably have a fairer idea than somebody like myself would. However, it was online legal documentation. It was what it was. And I said, I don't really need to know that bad. Like I know it's fine. In fact, I probably played right into the hands of mental health because they're like, oh, we can get a blood sample from Ryan by making him overthink testosterone levels and things like that, and he won't have any idea what we're actually going to do with his blood sample, and I don't know what they're going to do with it. There's nothing on it, but that's not going to stop them from being assholes. They'll probably be able to determine how long I've been taking the olanzapine for, and I've been taking as long as I've said I have. There's no dishonesty there. Um, yeah. Well, the thing is, that little thing got me into thinking something that sort of hits home a little bit harder, and that's like a subtopic of the bigger topic. And you know, sometimes when you start thinking about one thing, you start thinking about another. And this is another one of those topics that was on the back burner, and I started, thinking about it again because this reminded me of it. And one of the things that my eHealth emphasizes, it doesn't emphasize, it says it once or twice in the terms of agreement, of which I declined. I don't need to know, and I don't know. Maybe I don't think they need to know either. Was I'm a guy, so what kinds of things do I think of? I think of chicks, okay, and obviously bringing one around my place and having a good long session. Uh, you know, I mean, it doesn't have to, necessarily lead to that, but well, if they're in my room, of course, it's going to lead to that. But I don't even have to be the pursuer. Let's get real here, man. I'm one of the more attractive involuntary celibates and Coventry male figures that are out there. So it's probably I could probably go. I'm feeling a bit of a headache. I'm a little bit tired, and I don't know, who knows? I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm saying that there's questions here. There's questions. Anyway, as the hypothetical goes, if the masses, Illuminati, Freemasons, whatever the fuck you want to call them, if they deem it so that one day I may be able to bring a chick back, because I know it's them inhibiting my ability to do so. Mental health psychiatrists, they know the ropes, they know how things work, and they are able to implement such action when they want to, and sometimes they do it and they're wrong and they continue to do it anyway. Anyway, but all of that aside, if by osmosis or something like that, I'm able to bring a chick over to here, and things get a little bit heated, and then it becomes like I can call her my girlfriend type of thing. Then you know that would be nice. However, if and I complain about my social circumstances before, but if my social circumstances were different, I wouldn't even really think about it. But given how strict rules are around me and what people can and cannot say around me, and other things I notice as well, and this is not paranoia, it's the damn truth. I'm not a complete retard or someone who had a lobotomy and doesn't notice these things. That people have a specific way of talking to me, and they're very obsessive compulsive about it. It has to be that way. And, they just get mildly angry and then more so angry over nothing to institute this mechanism of control, or they run away, either way, to avoid answering questions. Those are the typical responses. And I'm going, it's like being the smartest person in class and having no brain. Uh, these people are pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. And it's also that they can observe me. They've been watching me on the social media for a long time. In fact, hell, they probably created conditions, as I said, that encouraged me to have a social media platform so that they could observe my behavior without being seen, except by inductive or deductive reasoning, one or the other. They are there. And other people will be able to spot it too, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, all that aside, I was getting back to the important part. We were bringing back a really hot chick, and finally, with restraint, of course, obviously, be very cautious about it and, get a kiss and a cuddle session going first and then, work my way up. Uh, Probably the slower is the better. I mean, when you've gone so many years without having to check around, you don't really have to rush into things. As, strange as that sounds. But, my social circumstances are different. My personal history is different from other people, so they don't understand my thing. However, the thing is, once I'm done for the night, if I like them, then I'll call them back. If not, get the fuck out of my house because I don't trust you. And there are things that need to be said. One of them being, I mean, I know it sounds like the primitive version of obsessive compulsive, having things a certain way, and I wouldn't do it under normal circumstances, as I said. But these are, I haven't scored a chicken. I'm 33 years old. What the fuck's wrong here? Kind of thing. So I do have to, put my foot down and say there has to be goddamn rules, and they're not absurd rules, and there's reasons for them. However, no smartphones, none whatsoever. You may bring a very primitive phone, like something that phones out and back, and that's about it, like a flip phone or something like that. No smartphones, and no mystery bags, like purse that seems too big, and it's who knows what's in it. And I mean, normally that would be kind of a weirdo thing to say. Look, you got to enter the contents of your personal effects if you're to be anywhere near my premises, especially when I'm asleep. Um, but in my current social circumstances, that's the truth. No smartphones, absolutely none. Uh, like if the chick says she doesn't have one, and I find one on her, I threw it on the ground. And, there are other things that they may have on their person that would piss me off. Um, I have heard through the meme forums every now and then, meme, things about bondage and, other creepy stuff. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't look into that stuff, but, it shows up on my newsfeed anyway. And it's like, no, you got that? I threw it on the ground. Another one would be Ancestry.ca. I do not want to be half asleep because I have this thing where, if I'm asleep, that's it. I'm out like a light. I can't help it. It's my physical condition based on psychiatric medication. I cannot help it. When I fall asleep, that's it. I can't wake up until I'm designated to do so by my body. And Ancestry.ca may be one of those things that seems harmless enough. A lot of people have bought that product and, they like seeing, I don't know what it is, a diagram or something like that about their specific genetic makeup and all that. And I decided some time ago that I was not going to participate in it, especially as, I've given a number of blood samples to the government already. They already know my genetic profile. In fact, they can tell by your physical attributes because they've been documented for at least since the Roman times. I mean, some of those documents lost and got refound and all that sort of stuff. But they can find areas in Europe or wherever where people have similar characteristics as yourself, and they can, you get a fair picture when they gather up all these characteristics. And that comes from everything from, eye shape to how long your ears are to are you able to move your ears and your hair? I can move my hair. Well, more like the top of my scalp, which is connected to my hair, but I can move it. This early man trick. Anyway, they could do all that, based on a facial profile anyway. But so to most people, it doesn't seem like a big deal. Who cares? Go do Ancestry.ca. A, I don't feel like paying money for it. B, This is legal documentation saying that this third party has the right to your stuff, and you don't know what they're going to do to it or with it. And, if you've ever heard of a place called Scotland, they hold grudges forever. And there are other places in the world that hold fucking grudges forever. And somebody could hate you somewhere, and you've never even met them before because of this thing called lineage. And they may go, "Ooh, you look like a buccaneer. You're the one who sold my great grandpappy some poppy, opium. Turned him into a junkie. Made us a backwater country." Well, they're on their way to doing that anyway, and they still are one. But I don't know. I don't think that's what happened. But I don't know. And our government would willingly hand this information out. Well, they'd prefer to be paid, but they would hand it out willingly anyway. Like this cyber hacking thing it is a thing, but also word of mouth, big mouth idiots who got drunk, 20 years ago, 30 years ago with state secrets and then blah, 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 blabbing to the wrong people. And then they found out, this whole spy thing where they go, oh, the Russians had the best spies or the best hackers and the Israelis had the best spies and all this bullshit. For one thing, that's a total crock of shit. The whole idea of a spy is you don't know they're a spy. So they may have had a few successful missions back in the day, but in order to be the best spies, you have to continue doing work. And because the television says that they've been doing work, doesn't necessarily mean that they have been. Who knows who the best spies are right now? It's not really it can be determined by success, but time lapses are an important thing. But anyway, I'm getting off track, not off traffic, off topic here for a second. Because like I would hate to be asleep and some chick, because I was weak at the knees, I allowed her to do the swab on my mouth for that test. I don't know exactly what you have to do. I don't even know if I have to agree to it or not. What if they just have it and then they sign my name for it? It's not like it's that big a deal or anything, really. I don't have to go somewhere specifically. It arrives at your door. But anyway, I mean, if a chick does something like that after I specifically verboten them from doing it, at least until I got to know them really well, then, they disobeyed one of my rules that I had a specific reason for having. So, oh, did they make me breakfast the next morning? I threw it on the ground. Oh, did they, wanted to have a picnic, have sandwiches at the park or something? I threw it on the ground. Oh, they had some, you know, one of their girlfriends that they wanted a three-way with. Or think about it. Uh, However, you have to take into consideration any chick who's actually doing that will never pick one that's, the equivalent of themselves. They won't do it because they'll be paranoid that you'll decide that you're more interested in them. You find them more sexually attractive or, anything. Or you might find out something extremely bitchy about the chick you're going with, which would also be, not cool. Uh, However, her feelings, I threw them to the ground because, yeah, you can't be no dang on fool. Fall over head over heels for some bimbo. I mean, not all women are bimbos, but some of them most certainly are. And, you know, it's one of those things, so, you know, it's one of the damn rules that they are not to have anything on their person that I'm not aware of. You know, no sophisticated cell phones, no fucking Ancestry.ca kits. Um, and no to a bunch of other things. And, it's simply because you can't trust people. Well, you can trust that you don't trust them, which is a form of trust, but it's not really ideally where you want to be. Because as I said in my last video, when they want to, it's all fun and games, ha 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 ha, good times, and the magic and the wonder and all that sort of stuff, and ooh, they got secrets, oh, how inquisitive and things like that. Actually, no, those are usually not fun games. Those are usually actually really, really irritating games for a person like myself. I don't want to play games like that. It's a bunch of ridiculous shit. And oh, and let me tell you, like, because the fact of the matter is, any chick that I go with is going to have previous boyfriends that they're still on good terms with. Don't worry, I'll fix that. Because I have no interest in being good terms with any of them. Based on what happened to me, based on the fact that they're probably going to be a bureaucrat chick, probably based on the fact that they, have bureaucratic ex-boyfriends and things like that, I'll make it a damn point not to get along with them. And I don't care how nice they are. I don't even care if they say, "Oh, dude, we watch your videos, man, and like you're super awesome and this and that." Not that they'd ever do that, but if they did, I'd tell them to, "Yo, man, you gotta get the fuck out of here, or I'm gonna throw her feelings on the fucking ground." Um, because I'm not putting up with that. And I don't care what reason they're there for. It could be for any reason. It could be because there's some other chick in the picture who's, trying to muscle in, and they're using another guy as a proxy to, rattle my cage, so to speak. These are all very subtle, very much ridiculous, unfair circumstances towards someone like me. I'm not putting up with any of that shit. I don't care who says that they, have earned the right to, treat me that way. No, you haven't. No one has. After what happened to me, fuck you. Fuck you. And, a body like myself has to have the capability of saying no. Has to have the capability of being cold-hearted about it and being like, it doesn't matter what you say, it doesn't matter what you think, it doesn't matter what you do. The answer is no. And some people go, "Oh, this guy's a pushover. It won't take long. Wave a bit of pussy in his face, and he'll change his mind real quick." Well, if I have to smile and nod through a few times, I've had to do it before. I'll do it again. But I'm not one of these people who holds how I truly think about something to myself. I'll let you know in other ways that I really don't like a situation. And if I can't tell you directly because you'll overreact. Um, you know, um, there has to be a certain degree of reasonableness, of fairness, of this desire not to really want to be, mean to someone who's a significant other, at least for the time being, anyway. There has to be some semblance of that, at least. And, I have no desire to, be mean to the first chick that comes around, but, I'm in a position where I don't really have a choice. I have to be a jerk. If that means sending them home at 1 a.m., that's what's going to happen because no, I'm not going to be the guy that, they turn around and start talking to all their friends about. And, if that does happen, and it will happen actually, I will limit that capability of theirs to such an extent um, that they got nothing to say. And, women often have weird ways of explaining uh, why they're being bitchy and how men are supposed to accept it. And I gotta tell you, after what I've been through, I am not putting up with any of that. None of that at all. Because it is absurd. It's outrageous. And, it's catering to the whims of people I despise. So, you know, bit of pussy, that'd be nice. However, all the shit that goes with it, leave it at the door or don't even bother. And I think I'm being quite fair about it. But basically, you know, I I lost the ability to live a normal life a long time ago, and I know that now. I know I'm a little higher up the pillar than other people as far as weird, uncomfortable situations, and an OCD nature around that person. I'm most certainly higher up the totem pole than other people. I get it. There are other people who, it doesn't matter. They can go out and, it's like everything's normal. But with me, oh no. Like tomorrow, I will go get blitz drunk. And I know for a solitary fact that there will be a shadow following me. I simply know that. Because random events don't happen. And when they do happen, they feel like they're scripted. Like a guy who looks like me, I look better in person, so um, can score chicks. And anyone who says, no, you can't, no, you can't, I'm like, are you coming on to me? Because if you are, you better be pretty. Because if you're not, yeah, how did me thinking about my e-health turn into this conversation? Well, it did. Because I haven't been thinking about my e-health for very long, other than when I went to go have my blood test, and it's like I think my testosterone levels are fine. I'll find that out by my general practitioner. However, it did get me to thinking of third parties, and then obviously Ancestry.ca, and then having chicks over and having them poke around where they shouldn't be nosing around and telling people about my stuff, and making assertions about me that aren't true, and a whole pile of other stuff I don't want. And I'm not going to be, completely blown over, amazed, dumbfounded by the brilliance of others. Uh, I've met many so-called intellectuals in my life. I have talked to people who believe they were so-called intellectuals on the internet as well. And maybe they are smarter than me in some ways, but in other ways, they're dumb fucks. Like actual dumb fucks. And yeah, I find all that funny. And I'm not exactly, I don't have an enlarged ego or anything like that. However, people aren't as smart as they think, and as soon as they think they're that smart, that's when they look stupid. So I'm always trying to learn. Have been for years, long time. I've been always trying to learn. I don't show my hand that often, but there's some things I know about other people. Anyway, yeah, rules. I'm okay with rules because there's got to be rules, but I don't like their rules. The rules are bullshit. We're not putting up with that, are we? So, that is a conversation about my health. I could tell you a funny story about that, but I'm not going to. I'd tell you if you're here, but I'm not going to tell you on the internet. Anyway, because it's really funny. I couldn't stop laughing when I saw it. But anyway, I guess you all have a good evening. And if you've pissed me off, I'll find a way. I'll find a way to make you regret what you did. And I imagine that won't be very difficult. I don't have to be, my definition of what a cunt is, but you know, there is a will, there is a way. Anyway, talk to you people later, but you know, most importantly, fuck off.